Okay, and on to a very difficult reading 3, Fine Art and Their Public. Let's see what we've got. Summary, but a summary with a box. 1, 2, 3, 4, multiple choice, and yes, no, not given. So I found this difficult mainly because the text is difficult. It's pretty advanced writing. And I think for a second language speaker, some of this text will be really difficult to understand. Anyway, what are we going to do first? Of course, we're going to do the summary. So let's find where the summary comes from. It's the first question, so it's probably going to be from start at the beginning. What can we see? First, let's do a little bit of grammar. Depend on, here's a preposition. That means this must be a noun. But there's something very important that I want you to see over here. Please stop the video and make sure you see it. It's super important. This is a whole clause. There's the subject, there's the main verb. What do you see about that main verb? That is are. What does that mean about the subject? It means it cannot be singular, it cannot be uncountable. It must be countable plural, and that means it most 99% chance that it ends with an S. There are irregular plural nouns like people that don't end with an S, but really most of them end with an S. That will help us over here because there are only a few of these end with an S. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. What do we got here? Leonardo were happy to instruct to produce copies of their work. Who do you instruct? A tree, a dog? No, you instruct other people. It means teach them or tell them. Relief features as well as color and something. So this might help us because there's this A and B structure, which often when it's like that, it's the same in the text, but this is passage 3, so probably not. Regrettable may not be in the interests of that could be anything. Right. Let's find where it's from. People go to art museums, accept the value, original, maybe original work of art. This is something I definitely want you to notice. I'm going to highlight this as well because I want you to notice that. They do not go to museums to read these, perhaps because novels has depended on something for so long. Novels and novels. I think the best thing there is the novels, but we're also going to look for the but. There's a but there, but I don't see novels, and there is a but there, and I think that is the but that we're looking for. Here is novel over here, so I think it might be this sentence over here. Novel is there as well, so it's not going to be easy. And we need to really understand what they're saying. They do not go to museums to read original novels. Who's they? People. People go to museums to see art, but they don't go to museums to see novels. Why? Because the availability as novels has depended on what for so long? Difficult to see. Maybe a good thing to do is to also look at that, because I saw an in addition. Also because with novels again, the something are the most important thing. Maybe we can find that also. I would say more than 50% of the time we can find the also. Probably that is the also. So we're I haven't looked for the answer yet. I'm just kind of trying to get an idea of where these things are coming from. It looks pretty good that the first one is there. Here's the also, maybe. And, well, that's a big, somewhere there is the next one. So let's look at the first one. Few people bother to go to read the actual manuscript rather than a printed reproduction. So that means this, they do not go to read the manuscript. Why? Because the availability of the novels has depended on. And here is where they say why. This might be explained by the fact that. This is basically like because. The novel has evolved precisely because of technological developments that made it possible to print out huge numbers of text, whereas oil paintings have been unique objects. So what are they saying? What is this whereas saying? They're saying novels, you can print them out in large numbers of text. This is what they're contrasting. Huge numbers of text compared to unique objects. So why don't people go and read novels? Because technological developments made it possible to print out huge numbers of texts. So you need to find something about that. Institution, no. Mass production, yes. Mass production, huge numbers of texts. Mechanical processes, it could have been, I almost chose C. This could be the technological developments. It's a little bit too close. Technological developments. Mechanical process and technological development aren't really the same thing, though. That's the problem. Public, no. Paints, you can go through the rest of these. Maybe basic technology. Again, it's very close. But the main thing that was important in this, what's the most important part of this? And this is what I've often said to you, at the end of the sentence, end of the clause is what the most important thing is. Also, you need to look at this and say, what are the two things that they're contrasting? They're contrasting huge numbers of texts compared to single unique objects. So that means that this is the most important part of that clause. I know many of you will have chosen that and you would have gone to C or I, but that actually wasn't the most important part of that sentence. It was the mass production, the huge numbers of texts. So we put B, but very difficult. So, and also, because with novels, the something are the most important thing, the readers, we know we're looking for an S over here. The paints, no, it can't be the paints. The underlying ideas, maybe. The picture frames, no, that's nothing about a novel. The mechanical processes, maybe, I don't think so. The assistants, I don't think so. It will be maybe the underlying ideas or maybe the readers. But anyway, let's just go and check. In addition, it could be argued that the practice of interpreting follows different conventions. What are the different conventions? With novel, the reader attends mainly to the meaning of words, whereas the reader of a painting must look at the marks and shapes and blah, 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 blah. This is the important thing. With novels, the reader looks at the meaning of words rather than the way they are printed on the page. There's nothing there about important. The rather than shows you that the meaning of words is more important than the way they are on the page. And we know we're looking at that one or that one because we're looking for an S. So it's not the reader. It's the meaning of the words. It's the underlying ideas. Again, wow, super difficult. Right, however, maybe we can find the however. But we can definitely find Leonardo. They were happy to instruct something or somebody to produce copies of their work. You can take a guess already because you instruct a person to produce copies of their work. You don't instruct, there's only two people over here, the readers and the assistants. It can't be singular because there's no a or an or the over there. If it was singular, we would need an article, so it can't be artist. And I think you can guess it's going to be that. The artists instructed their assistants to produce copies of their work. The artist doesn't instruct a reader. So we can immediately guess it will be assistants. But let's go and take a look and see what we can see. Okay, now what they've done, it slightly made it a little bit difficult. This is passage 3. Here is Leonardo. That's the reference to Leonardo. Because maybe you don't know that Leonardo da Vinci made this painting. This painting is called the Mona Lisa. But there it is over there, Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. So you could find that, and then see, okay, here we're talking about Mona Lisa. The 7 surviving versions of Mona Lisa. I think that's the however that they were talking about. However, they were happy to instruct somebody to produce copies of their work. The artists, that is there, seemed perfectly content, that's the happy, content, to assign the reproduction of their creations to they're apprentices, and apprentices is just another word for assistant. So, okay, I think that one wasn't too bad because actually you could guess it at the beginning. And these days, now we moved into these days, new methods of reproduction allow excellent replication of surface relief features as well as color and. So we wanted these days surface relief features color. There's these days, great. Is blah 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 with production of high quality prints to original scale, faithful color values, and even depiction of surface relief. Now what IELTS have done here is quite common. There is a list of 3 things: replication of surface relief features 1, color 2, answer 3. Here there is a list of 3 things: original scale, color, surface relief features. And they just change the order of the list. They mix it up. They do it with a list of 2 or a list of 3, whatever. They like to do it to try and confuse you, but it's a very simple trick. They just change the order of the list. You've got to ask yourself, what's in the list? So there's our answer over there, because we've got color, we've got surface relief features. The problem is, what is scale? Do you know what scale means? And scale means size. It's just a straight vocabulary issue. What is the scale of something? What is the size of something? And there it is there. It was difficult because there were 2 things they did there. First, they mixed up the order. Secondly, it was vocabulary. That's why the summary with a box is more difficult. It is regrettable that museums still promote superiority of original works of art, since this is not in the interests of the. Yes, it could be in the interests of. We use this in the interests of if it means, if it's for the better of something. Could be public, artists, picture frame size, maybe readers. So there's a few things it could be. It is regrettable superiority interests. Can you see? It is regrettable. And there it is there. It is regrettable, unfortunately. So unfortunately what? This seems to place severe limitations. What is this? Promote. This is promote the special status of the original work. And that is promote the superiority of the original work. So that was in the previous one, and it was just, they like to do this. I've said before, they make sure that you know what this is, what it is. They test this reference pronoun. So that's over there, places severe limitations on the kind of experience offered to visitors. And that's that. Place severe limitations on may not be in the interests of. It's just something negative. The kind of experience offered to the visitors. Where is the visitors there? It's not the readers. I know you want to say readers, but readers is for books, not for paintings. Where else is visitors? The people who go to the museum is the public. My goodness, that is one of the more difficult summary with a box that I've seen, so don't feel too bad about this one. This whole test is very difficult, this whole passage. Right, let's move on to the what shall we do next? I think we should do the yes, no, not given next. Okay, so now first thing is to find where they come from. It's a bit of a problem because the multiple choice are in between. So what you actually would like to do here is start at the end, work backwards, because this is going to be from the end most probably. Also, we see quite a nice thing over there that might give us a time reference which will help us find where we are. Let's just see if we can find that one. So now I'm reading over here, but it's not really clear. The only thing that I can see about the future is that maybe, and that's talking about the future. Very difficult, but maybe you didn't see it. Let's see if there's anything else. Those with power are likely to encourage more people to enjoy art. Those with power, those who seek to maintain and control the art establishment. Anything else? Nothing about those with power. If you're not comfortable about this, then just move on to the next one. But I'm feeling fine that those with power is this the people who seek to control the establishment. So, what is our target language? Our target language is over here. That's what you want to put a circle around. Are they likely to encourage people to enjoy art, or is it unlikely that they will encourage people to enjoy art? And this says that may be too much to ask. What is that? That is all the way back here. Appropriate works could be permanently accessible to the public. That's encouraging them to enjoy art because it's accessible to them. The public may feel less intimidated by them. That might be too much to ask. It means it probably will not happen because it's too much to ask. So that means it's unlikely. So at the end of the day, if you found it, what they were comparing was too much to ask, which means unlikely, compared with likely. But really so difficult. So that one then would be no. This should be unlikely. Let's try some more. Reproductions of fine art should only be sold to the public if they are of high quality. So maybe target language over there, but I think maybe target language over there as well on the adjective. Reproductions of fine art should only be sold to the public, high quality. Reproductions sold, high quality. And I'm looking, I don't really see anything. I don't see anything. I want it to be over here. Bear in mind that some of this will be not given, it won't be there. So let's move on. People should be encouraged to give their opinions openly on works of art. People encourage opinions. Now, can you see opinions? It's very difficult. It's deep in there somewhere. People should be encouraged to give their opinions on works of art. Unfortunately, I can't tell you an easy way to do this because you need to see the key words. If you don't see it, you won't see the sentence. Can you see opinions? Pause the video and look for opinions somewhere here. And there is opinions over there. Give their opinions, express their work. People will experience art more rewardingly. So that means it's a positive thing. Rewarding, it's a positive word, if they have the confidence to give their opinions. So because it's positive, that means they should be encouraged. Incredibly difficult, but there it is. This is really banal stuff. Maybe you can just say from common sense, of course people should be encouraged to give their opinions on works of art openly. What sentence, what writer would say people should not be encouraged to give their opinions on works of art? Of course they must be. You can kind of guess that this will be yes. So we can go back to this one then, because we found those two. Only sold to the public if they are of high quality. That means it should be somewhere over there. But I don't see anything about high quality and sold to the public. Maybe accessible to the public. There's high quality. Okay, it's all there. But they're saying if this would happen, the public may feel less in awe. Doesn't say anything about only. So actually that's the target language over there. This is a not given, but there's target language. They don't say anything about only. But definitely that's the target language. I've seen it before with yes, no, true, false. Only or not only. They don't say anything about only, so therefore that is not given. The approach of historians conflicts with that of art museums. Does it conflict or does it not? There's your target language there. One of these where the target language is on the verb. So, does the art historian's approach conflict with the art museum's approach? Art historians, art museums. There's art historian over there. And there's the museum. There's the approach. devoted to discovering the meaning of art. That's the art historian's approach. This is in perfect harmony with. Now, unfortunately, you needed to know what this is. Does this mean conflict? Is it against it, or does it agree with it? And this means it agrees with it. It's not in conflict with it. It's not against it. In perfect harmony with is not in conflict with. So therefore, that one is no. I can't believe this. I can't believe how difficult this yes, no, not given is. Art history should focus on discovering the meaning of art using a range of media. Art history. I see art history over there, but we actually need something over here. And this is nothing about range of media. So you would just have to scan back, look for art history. We know that it's going to be either, there's two no's, one yes or one not given. It's either yes or not given. I've scanned and scanned and scanned. I can't find anything about what art history should focus on. So I'm going to just guess it's not given. It is not given, and they often do this with the first one just to make you really waste a lot of time. The first one is not given. That's why it was a really good idea to start with it at the end here. Very nasty of them to do that, because you can waste a lot of time looking for that. Range of media. Is that anywhere? Maybe that's range of media there. But anyway, there's nothing about art history, so we'll just go with not given there. Right, let's move on to these multiple choices. This is a pretty common one. Why does the writer mention something? It's a common multiple choice, so let's find it to show. Why does he mention the London's National Gallery? Scan, 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 and you will see it over here. In addition, a major collection is housed in numerous rooms with dozens of work, likely to be in a society that judges the status. It is difficult not to be impressed by the worthlessness of such an environment. So the reason that he mentions the National Gallery is to say that the individual will feel worthless in such an environment. Can we see anything like that? And there it is over there. The negative effect, the worthlessness a museum can have on opinions of themselves. So 32 is C. 33. The writer says that today viewers may be unwilling to criticize a work because. Today, unwilling to criticize because. There's today. Unwilling, deterred from. Why? This is unwilling to criticize. Why? Nothing the reader thinks about work is going to alter that value. What is that value? This monetary value of the painting. So, what they're saying is, these paintings have got a huge monetary value. Nothing is going to change that monetary value. Nothing that the public thinks is going to change that value. And so the public, the viewer, doesn't want to express his opinion on them. Lack knowledge? No. Fear? No. No concept? No. Is of no significance is the answer. Not important. Nothing that they say will change the value of the painting, so therefore their view is not important. My goodness. According to the writer, the displacement effect on the visitor is caused by. What causes the displacement effect? The displacement effect is there. This displacement effect, so that's over here then. The visitor is struck by the strangeness of seeing such diverse paintings, drawings and sculptures brought together in an environment for which they were not originally created. So the visitor kind of gets confused because all of these paintings, drawings and sculptures are in one room and they don't belong there. So what causes the displacement effect? Variety of works on display and the way they are arranged, yes. A long period, no. Similar nature, no. Inappropriate nature, no. It's the variety of work and the way that they are arranged. Diverse paintings, that's variety of work in an environment for which they were not created, the way that they are arranged. Oh, I'm so sick of this reading, I just want it to end. Let's do the last one. The writer says that unlike other forms of art, a painting does not. Unlike, a painting does not. Let's see if we can find those negatives. There's the difference. Unlike other art forms, a painting does not. There is no time over which it's viewed. Direct contact, no. We want something about the time. Specific location, no. Other professionals, no. A specific beginning or end, that's the time thing. I think they went on. Yeah, here they continue to talk about time. A picture has no clear place at which to start viewing or at which to finish. Alright, one of the most difficult ones that I've ever seen, this passage, so don't feel too bad about it. Look, it's all good practice, but hopefully your reading 3 that you get won't be this difficult. Let's just finish with that and move on.